Liam stepped off the dusty road and onto the wooden planks of the abandoned pier. The sound of the waves hitting the shore was calm but steady, a rhythm that seemed to echo the quiet emptiness around him. The pier stretched far into the sea, worn and creaking under the weight of time. Rusty bolts, missing boards, and patches of seaweed gave it a look of forgotten history. Liam had always been fascinated by places like this, places where life had once thrived but had now been left behind. And today, he wanted to see if he could bring a little life back. He adjusted his backpack and took a deep breath, smelling the mix of salty sea air and the faint, musty scent of old wood. His notebook was in his hand, filled with sketches and measurements he had been taking in preparation for his project. Liam was an engineer by training, but this project was more personal than professional. He had grown up near this town, and the pier had been a favorite spot when he was a child. Now, after years in the city, returning felt like returning home. As Liam walked carefully along the edge, listening to the gentle groans of the wooden beams beneath his feet, he noticed movement at the far end of the pier. A figure was crouched near the water, carefully watching the small waves. Curious, Liam slowed his steps and tried to see who it was. The figure was a young woman, sitting cross-legged on the worn boards, a small notebook in her lap. Her hair was tied back, and she wore a light jacket, the wind teasing the edges. She seemed completely absorbed in what she was doing, occasionally looking up at the water, as if observing every ripple and reflection. "Hello," Liam called softly, not wanting to startle her. The woman looked up quickly, her eyes widening for a moment before she smiled politely. "Oh. Hi," she said. "I didn't hear you coming." "I didn't mean to disturb you," Liam replied, taking a few steps closer. "I'm just exploring the pier. It's been a long time since I walked here." "I come here often," she said, closing her notebook gently. "I'm Mia. I'm studying the tides and the birds around here." "Liam," he said, offering a hand, which she shook briefly. Well, I'm looking at the pier itself. I want to understand its structure, maybe see if it can be restored." Mia's eyes brightened a little. "That's interesting. I usually see people either avoiding this pier or just walking past it. You actually want to fix it?" Liam nodded. "Yes. I grew up near here. This place, it has memories. I want to give it a little life again, even if it's just for a while." For a moment, they both looked out over the water. The sea reflected the soft morning light, tiny waves breaking against the pier's supports. A lone seagull cried in the distance, its call echoing over the water. Liam noticed how the woman's expression softened as she watched the scene, the same wonder he felt when he first came here as a child. "You really care about this place," Mia said quietly. "I can see it in your eyes." "I do," Liam admitted. "And you? You seem to care about the sea too." "I do," she said with a small smile. "It's peaceful here. I like observing it, understanding it. There's a lot we can learn from quiet places like this." Liam nodded. There was a calmness to her presence, something that made the pier feel less lonely. For a moment, they just stood there, watching the waves, letting the silence stretch between them. It was not awkward silence but a comfortable one, the kind that forms when two people are quietly aware of each other without needing to speak. Suddenly, a small wave splashed up and soaked Liam's shoes. He jumped back, laughing nervously. Mia laughed too, the sound light and musical, breaking the quiet. "Careful," she said teasingly. "The sea doesn't like surprises." "I guess not," Liam said, smiling. I forgot it could be playful too. They both laughed again, a sound that mingled with the breeze and the gentle crash of waves. Liam realized something: this encounter, brief as it might be, was different. He had expected an empty pier, silence, and memories. Instead, he found someone who shared his appreciation for this forgotten place, someone who could see beauty in what others had ignored. As the sun climbed higher, Liam and Mia continued to talk, exchanging stories about the pier, the town, and the sea. Each word felt natural, flowing easily, as if they had known each other longer than a few minutes. And though the pier remained old, abandoned, and creaking, for the first time in many years, it felt alive again. By the time Liam turned to leave, he knew he would return. The pier had always been special, but now it held another promise: a connection, quiet but real, waiting to grow. The next morning, Liam found himself walking back toward the pier, his notebook tucked under his arm. The air was cool and fresh, carrying the faint scent of salt and seaweed. He had expected the pier to feel the same as yesterday: quiet, empty, and a little lonely, but he was hoping to see Mia again. Something about her presence had brought life to the old wood, like the pier itself was waking up after years of stillness. As he approached, he saw her sitting at the far end, sketching in her notebook. She had spread out a small blanket on the worn planks and had several books stacked beside her. The sunlight touched her hair, making it shine like strands of gold. When she noticed him, she waved and smiled warmly. "Good morning," Liam called, walking carefully over the uneven boards. "Morning," Mia replied. "You're early." "I couldn't wait," he admitted with a grin. "I wanted to see if the tide had changed overnight." "You're obsessed," Mia teased, closing her notebook. "But I guess that's why this pier might survive a little longer with people like you around." They laughed together, the sound echoing over the water. Liam felt an easy comfort around her, as if their connection from yesterday had carried over naturally, without any need for explanation. "Do you always come here this early?" he asked, curious. "Mostly," she said. "The mornings are quiet, the tide is easier to watch, and the birds are active. I like seeing them start their day. It's peaceful." Liam nodded, looking out over the gentle waves. "I understand that. There's something about this place in the morning, it feels calm, even when it's old and broken." Mia smiled at his words. "I think that's why it's special. People see it as abandoned, but it has stories. It has life in its own way." For the next hour, they walked along the pier together, exchanging thoughts and observations. Liam showed Mia the sketches he had made of the pier's structure, pointing out areas that were weak or needed attention. Mia shared notes about the tides, the patterns of the seabirds, and how the pier's presence affected the local marine life. It was the first time Liam felt that someone truly understood his fascination, and he could see that Mia's respect for the pier went deeper than her studies. At one point, Liam stepped on a loose board, causing it to tilt and creak. He almost lost his balance, but Mia quickly reached out, steadying him with a gentle hand. Their eyes met, and for a moment, neither spoke. Liam felt a warmth spread through him, a feeling he had not expected. Mia, too, seemed aware of the unspoken connection between them, and she smiled softly before letting go. "You need to be careful," she said lightly, trying to sound casual. "This pier has been through a lot." "I will," he replied, his voice quieter than before. "I don't want to fall, especially not in front of you." Mia's cheeks tinged pink, and she laughed softly, shaking her head. "You're ridiculous." They continued their walk, talking and laughing easily. Liam noticed that even small things like Mia pointing out a cluster of seashells or noting the direction of a bird's flight felt special. He found himself watching her more than the pier itself, noticing the way her eyes sparkled in the sunlight and the way her hair moved in the breeze. After a while, they sat on the edge of the pier, dangling their feet above the water. The sea shimmered beneath them, calm and endless. Liam pulled out his notebook and began to draw some of the birds Mia had described, trying to capture their motion on the page. Mia watched him with curiosity, leaning closer to see his sketches. "You're really good," she said, genuinely impressed. "I didn't know you could draw like that." "I'm not very good," Liam admitted with a shrug. "I just like trying. Sometimes it helps me see things more clearly." "I understand that," Mia said softly. "Sometimes, looking closely is the best way to appreciate something. Even if it's old or broken, like this pier." Liam glanced at her, realizing how much he liked listening to her thoughts. They were different from anyone he had met in the city, calm, honest, and full of care. He felt that the pier had not only brought him here but also brought him to her. As the morning faded into afternoon, they promised to meet again the next day. Liam left the pier with a lightness in his step, feeling anticipation instead of the solitude he had expected. The pier, once just a place of memories, had become a bridge not only between land and sea but between two hearts discovering something new. And Mia, watching him leave, smiled to herself. She, too, felt the pier's magic growing stronger, not just from the waves or the weathered wood, but from the unexpected connection forming on its old planks. A few days had passed since Liam and Mia had met on the pier, and their morning meetings had become a routine neither wanted to miss. The pier, once silent and empty, now felt alive with their presence. Each step on the weathered board seemed lighter when they were together, and even the wind seemed to play around them, carrying their laughter over the gentle waves. One morning, dark clouds gathered above the sea. Liam noticed the first drops of rain falling, and the sky quickly turned a deeper gray. "Looks like a storm is coming," he said, looking out over the water. Mia, already watching the clouds with keen eyes, nodded. "Yes, we should probably head toward the small cabin at the far end. It will be safer there." Together, they walked quickly along the pier, the wind tugging at their jackets and whipping Mia's hair across her face. By the time they reached the cabin, the rain had begun to pour, drumming heavily against the roof and the sides of the pier. The small wooden structure, once forgotten and empty, now felt like a shelter from the world, and they both breathed a sigh of relief as they stepped inside. The cabin smelled of old wood and sea air, with a hint of moss from the years of neglect. Liam leaned against the wall, looking at Mia as she closed the door behind them. "It's amazing," he said, "how even a storm can't take away the peace of this place." Mia smiled softly. "Yes, it's strong, like the pier itself. And maybe, like people too." For a while, they watched the rain from the small window, listening to the waves crash against the supports of the pier. The storm was loud, but inside, the cabin felt calm. Liam noticed that Mia seemed thoughtful, staring at the water with a quiet intensity. "Can I ask you something?" he said finally. "Of course," Mia replied. "Why do you spend so much time here, studying the tides and the birds? You don't live near this town." Mia paused, her eyes still on the waves. "I grew up visiting the coast with my father. He loved the sea and taught me to notice everything: the small waves, the birds, even the way light changes on the water. I think I came here to feel that again. To understand it better." And maybe to protect it, in my own small way. Liam nodded slowly. I understand that. I left this town for the city, but coming back, it feels like I never really left. Maybe that's why I care about the pier so much. There was a pause, comfortable and gentle, where neither spoke but both seemed to understand each other more clearly. The storm raged outside, yet inside the cabin, a quiet connection was forming, as though the pier itself had brought them together. Do you ever get scared? Liam asked softly, surprising himself with the question. Mia looked at him, considering. Sometimes. When you care about something or someone, you feel the risk. But fear doesn't stop me. It makes me stronger, makes me want to protect what matters. Liam's heart beat a little faster. Her words were simple, yet full of meaning. I think. I feel the same way about this pier, he admitted. And, maybe about some other things too. Mia's cheeks warmed slightly, and she turned her gaze back to the window. Some things are worth caring about, she said quietly. The rain began to ease, and the clouds slowly parted, revealing patches of blue sky. Light broke through, reflecting on the wet wood and sparkling water. Liam and Mia stepped outside together, feeling the calm after the storm. The pier glistened, each board shining as if it had been renewed, and the waves now moved gently, carrying a quiet promise. Liam looked at Mia, feeling an unspoken bond. I'm glad I met you here, he said, his voice soft. Me too, Mia replied, smiling. This place, it's different with someone else here. It feels alive. They walked along the pier, careful of the slippery boards, but neither wanted to end the moment. Liam found himself talking about his childhood memories, fishing with his father, watching sunsets, and running along the pier with friends. Mia listened closely, asking questions and sharing her own memories of the coast. Each story made the pier feel even more alive, like it was carrying not just their footsteps, but their hearts as well. By the time they reached the end of the pier, the sun had fully emerged, casting golden light across the water. Liam and Mia paused, standing side by side, watching the waves sparkle. The storm had passed, leaving a world that felt renewed and full of possibility. In that quiet moment, neither spoke, but both knew something had shifted. The pier was no longer just an old structure by the sea, it had become a place where memories, dreams, and a growing connection between two hearts could find space to breathe. Liam felt hope, and Mia felt a warmth she could not ignore. Together, they were discovering not just the pier's strength, but the possibility of something new, delicate, and beautiful. And for the first time, Liam realized that the pier had not only brought him back to his roots, it had brought him to Mia, and perhaps to the start of something neither of them had expected, yet both quietly hoped for. The mornings on the pier had become a routine Liam and Mia both looked forward to, but today felt different. As they arrived, they noticed a small group of people standing near the entrance, talking quietly among themselves. Curious, Liam approached one of them, a man in a neatly pressed coat who looked official. "Good morning," the man said, his voice polite but firm. "Are you Mr. Liam?" "Yes," Liam replied. "And this is Mia. Can we help you?" The man introduced himself as a member of the town council. "We've been reviewing the pier," he said, "and there are concerns about safety and development. The council has decided that the pier may need to be removed to make space for a new project." Liam felt his stomach tighten. Removed? But this pier has history, and it can be restored. It's not dangerous if repaired carefully. The council member shook his head. "We understand, but it's expensive, and the plans are for modernization. I'm afraid this pier is considered a liability. Mia stepped forward, her voice calm but firm. It may be old, but it has value beyond money. The pier is part of the town's identity, the ecosystem, and it holds memories for people who grew up here. Surely there's a way to preserve it while keeping safety in mind. The council member glanced at her, expression neutral. We will consider your points, but the decision is not final. I suggest you take action quickly if you want to save it. With that, the group walked away, leaving Liam and Mia standing on the pier, the wind carrying a chill across their faces. Liam clenched his fists, frustration mixing with worry. They can't just destroy it. This pier has stood here for decades, and it's still strong. We can fix it. Mia placed a hand on his arm. I know. But we need a plan. We have to show them why it's worth saving. The tension was thick, and for a moment, their shared purpose was overshadowed by the weight of the council's decision. Liam looked at Mia, noticing the determination in her eyes. Despite the setback, she didn't waver. He realized how much he depended on her calm, thoughtful presence and how much he admired her strength. Let's start by documenting everything, Mia suggested. Photos, measurements, notes about the wildlife and history. We need evidence to prove this pier matters. Liam nodded, the spark of hope returning. You're right. We can do this together. Over the next few days, they worked tirelessly. Liam measured the beams, noted the areas needing repair, and sketched diagrams. Mia recorded the birds, the tides, and the pier's role in the local environment. They even talked to a few older residents, gathering stories about the pier and its importance to the town. Though their work brought them closer, the pressure began to strain their interactions. Liam's passion sometimes led him to push forward recklessly, while Mia's careful planning slowed him down. One afternoon, as Liam was adjusting a loose plank without proper support, Mia grabbed his arm. Liam. Stop. You could hurt yourself, she said, her voice sharp with concern. I know what I'm doing, he replied, frustration creeping in. We don't have time to wait. We need results. You're rushing. Mia insisted. We need to do this safely. Otherwise, nothing will matter if someone gets hurt. For a moment, neither spoke. The tension hung between them, heavier than the storm clouds that had passed days ago. Liam felt guilt for snapping, and Mia felt uneasy for raising her voice. Both cared deeply, but the stress of saving the pier tested their patience and their connection. Finally, Liam sighed and ran a hand through his hair. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to snap. I care about this pier. I care about saving it. Mia softened, her expression gentle. I know. And I care too. That's why I'm cautious. I don't want to see anyone get hurt, and I don't want our efforts to fail. Their hands brushed as they passed tools back and forth, and in that small contact, the tension eased. They realized that their differences were not obstacles, but strengths balancing each other out, like the pier balanced between land and sea. As the sun dipped lower, casting long shadows over the water, Liam and Mia paused at the edge of the pier. The sky was painted with streaks of orange and pink, and the gentle waves reflected the colors like melted glass. We'll save it, Liam said softly, more to himself than to her. Yes, Mia agreed, her eyes meeting his. Together. In that moment, the pier seemed to stand taller, as if it recognized their determination. The challenges ahead were real, but so was the bond forming between them. The abandoned pier, threatened and fragile, had become a place where resilience and hope met, both for the structure itself and for the hearts of the two people fighting to protect it. And for the first time, Liam realized that saving the pier was no longer just about wood and nails. It was about creating something enduring, built on trust, shared dreams, and a connection that neither had expected but both had quietly hoped for. The next morning, Liam and Mia arrived at the pier with renewed energy. After days of planning, they had decided to involve the town in their effort to save the old structure. They hoped that if enough people understood the pier's importance, the council would reconsider its decision. Liam carried his tools and sketches, while Mia brought her notes and small camera to document the birds and wildlife. Their first stop was the local cafe, where they knew some of the townspeople gathered. Liam and Mia explained their plan, showing pictures of the pier, the sketches of its structure, and Mia's photographs of the local birds and waves. Many people listened quietly, nodding as they realized how much the pier meant not just to the town's history but also to the environment. People forget that places like this tell stories, Mia said, her voice gentle but firm. This pier has stood here for decades. It has memories, history, and life all around it. We can help preserve it. Liam added, it's not just an old structure. It's part of the town's identity. We can repair it carefully and make it safe, but we need your help to show that it matters. By the afternoon, a small group had agreed to volunteer. Some were older residents who remembered fishing trips and childhood games on the pier. Others were younger, excited by the idea of helping restore a place that was both beautiful and historic. Liam and Mia felt a mix of relief and excitement. The pier, once abandoned, was slowly coming alive with human care again. Back at the pier, the volunteers spread out, ready to work. Liam took charge of the structural repairs, carefully showing others how to replace worn boards and reinforce supports. Mia guided a group of volunteers to observe and record the wildlife, explaining how the pier provided shelter and feeding areas for birds and small fish. Their teamwork was smooth, and each small success lifted everyone's spirits. During a short break, Liam and Mia sat side by side on the edge of the pier, their feet dangling above the gentle waves. The sun sparkled on the water, and the sound of laughter and chatter from the volunteers created a lively background. Liam looked at Mia, noticing the glow of sunlight on her hair and the focus in her eyes as she explained something to a young volunteer. "You're amazing," he said softly. "I don't know what I would do without you here." Mia turned to him, a small smile on her lips. "We're doing this together. I couldn't do it without you either." Their hands brushed briefly as they passed tools to each other, sending a small spark of warmth through both of them. It was quiet, unspoken, but the connection was growing stronger with every shared moment on the pier. As the day continued, the volunteers made steady progress. Boards were replaced, supports were reinforced, and the pier slowly regained a sense of stability. Some people even began to clean and paint, bringing color and life back to the weathered structure. The birds seemed to notice too, returning to perch on the posts and fly above the pier, as if approving the effort. At the end of the day, Liam and Mia stood at the far edge of the pier, looking out at the work they had accomplished. The pier looked more alive than it had in years, and the sense of accomplishment filled them both with quiet pride. "We did a lot today," Liam said, letting out a contented sigh. "Yes," Mia agreed, resting her hand on the wooden railing. "And we'll do even more tomorrow. People are starting to see why this pier matters." For a moment, they stood in silence, watching the sun lower toward the horizon, painting the sky with shades of orange and pink. Liam felt a pull toward Mia, stronger than before. Her calm determination, her warmth, and the way she cared for everything around her had become a part of his thoughts, impossible to ignore. Mia glanced at him and noticed the thoughtful look in his eyes. She smiled softly, sensing the unspoken feelings growing between them. Their hands met again, this time holding firmly, not letting go as they stood together on the pier. "I think, this pier is lucky," Liam said quietly. "It brought us together." Mia laughed softly, a sound that mixed with the waves and the gentle wind. "Yes, maybe it did. And maybe we'll make it even stronger than before, not just the pier, but us too." As the volunteers began packing up their tools and leaving, Liam and Mia stayed behind, hand in hand, feeling the satisfaction of their shared effort. The pier, once abandoned and silent, was now alive with work, laughter, and hope. And in the quiet moments between waves and wind, a deeper connection had begun to grow between them, one built on trust, shared dreams, and the joy of bringing something beautiful back to life. The pier had become more than wood and nails. It had become a place of purpose, love, and the promise of something enduring, not just for the town, but for Liam and Mia as well. The pier glowed in the late afternoon sun, the golden light reflecting on the gentle waves. Liam and Mia walked slowly along the boards, their hands brushing occasionally, each touch sending a small thrill through both of them. The air was calm, carrying the fresh scent of the sea, and the pier, once empty and abandoned, now felt alive with their presence. It had been weeks since they first met here, and the bond between them had grown quietly but steadily. They shared laughs, stories, and the satisfaction of repairing the pier together. But beneath the ease of friendship, a new feeling had begun to bloom, a warmth, gentle and persistent, that neither could ignore. "I can't believe how far we've come," Liam said, looking around at the pier. "It looks almost new in places, and the birds, they're back." Mia smiled, watching a small flock circle above the water. "Yes, it feels like the pier is breathing again. And I think, we've done more than just repair it. We've given it life again, like we've given a part of ourselves." Liam looked at her, noticing how the sunlight caught the edges of her hair and the soft curve of her smile. He felt a pull in his chest, something deeper than friendship. "Mia," he began, then paused, unsure if he should continue. She turned to him, her expression curious and gentle. "Yes. I think I need to tell you something," Liam said, taking a small step closer. His heart beat faster, and his hands itched to reach for hers, but he waited. "Being here with you, these weeks, it's changed me. I didn't expect it, but I think I care about you. More than just as a friend." Mia's eyes widened slightly, and then softened. She took a small step closer as well, her voice quiet but steady. "I'm glad you said that," she admitted. "Because I feel the same way. I didn't want to ruin what we have, but I can't hide it either. I care about you too, Liam." The words hung in the air, mingling with the soft sound of the waves and the distant cry of seagulls. For a moment, neither spoke, both simply feeling the warmth of the other's presence. Then, Liam gently took Mia's hand in his, holding it with care and reverence. The pier beneath them creaked softly, but it felt steady, as if acknowledging the moment. Liam and Mia walked a few steps closer to the end of the pier, standing side by side and looking out at the sparkling water. The sun cast long shadows behind them, creating a private world of light and color. "I've never felt this way before," Liam said softly. "I didn't expect to meet someone like you here, not on an old, abandoned pier." Mia laughed quietly, the sound blending with the waves. "Life has a way of surprising us. Sometimes the most unexpected places bring the most important people into our lives. They fell into a comfortable silence, their fingers entwined, watching the horizon as the sun sank lower. The gentle sway of the pier, the rhythm of the waves, and the warmth of their hands seemed to create a perfect harmony. Liam felt a sense of peace he hadn't known he was missing, and Mia felt a quiet joy that matched his own. After a while, Liam turned to face her, his expression tender. "I want to be honest with you," he said. "I want to be here, not just for the pier, but for you too. I want to see what we can build together, like we built this place." Mia's eyes shone, and she squeezed his hand. "I want that too," she said simply. I think this pier brought us together for a reason. And I want to see where it leads." Liam smiled, feeling a warmth spread through him that had nothing to do with the sun. He leaned slightly closer, and Mia met him halfway, their foreheads touching for a brief, gentle moment. No words were needed, the connection was clear, strong, and full of promise. They stayed there for a long while, side by side, hand in hand, watching the sun set and the colors deepen over the water. The pier, once abandoned and lonely, now held the laughter, the effort, and the love of two people who had found each other in its quiet strength. As the sky darkened and the first stars appeared, Liam and Mia finally turned to walk back along the pier, their steps slow and unhurried. Each glance, each touch, carried the unspoken promise of a bond that had grown from friendship into something deeper. The abandoned pier had become more than a structure of wood and nails. It had become a place of hope, trust, and the beginning of a love neither had expected but both had quietly wished for. And as they walked together, side by side, the pier stood steady beneath them, holding not just their footsteps, but the first chapters of a new story, one filled with possibility, warmth, and the quiet joy of discovering love where it had seemed impossible. The morning sun rose gently over the sea, casting a soft golden glow on the pier. It was no longer the abandoned, creaking structure that Liam had first arrived at weeks ago. Boards had been repaired, supports reinforced, and the small cabin at the end was tidy and welcoming. Volunteers and townspeople had helped bring the pier back to life, and it now stood strong, proud, and full of history. Liam and Mia arrived together, carrying a few tools to make final touches. Their hands brushed, and they shared a smile, feeling a quiet joy that had grown between them since the beginning. The pier had been a project, a challenge, and now, in a way, it had become a symbol of their journey together, steady and full of life. "Look at it," Mia said softly, letting her eyes wander along the repaired boards. "It's amazing how much work we've done." Liam nodded, his heart swelling with pride. "Not just us," he said. "Everyone who helped. And it's stronger than ever, like it was meant to be." Mia glanced at him, noticing the way he smiled, the warmth in his eyes. "And we grew stronger too," she said quietly, her fingers brushing against his. "I feel like we've built more than just a pier." He looked down at her, feeling the same thought. "Yes," he agreed, squeezing her hand gently. "We built trust, friendship, and something else I didn't expect, but I'm grateful for." They walked slowly along the pier, talking quietly about the memories they had collected over the past weeks. Liam spoke about his childhood visits, the fishing trips, and the games he played with friends. Mia shared stories of her father, the lessons he had taught her about the sea, and the love she had for quiet, thoughtful observation. Every word, every shared memory, made the pier feel alive with more than just history, it was alive with their connection. As they reached the far end of the pier, the sunlight danced on the water, turning it into a shimmering path of gold. Liam stopped and turned to face Mia. "You know," he said softly, "this pier brought us together. I can't imagine it or life without you now." Mia's eyes softened, and she reached out to hold both of his hands. "I feel the same," she said. "It started as just a place to work, to study, and repair, but it became something much more. It became us." For a moment, they stood silently, letting the waves and the wind surround them. The pier had survived storms, neglect, and time. Now it had survived something else, the test of effort, patience, and the care of many people. Liam and Mia realized that their own bond had been tested too, but like the pier, it had grown stronger and more enduring. "Do you want to sit for a while?" Liam asked, pointing to a wide board at the edge. "Yes," Mia said, smiling. They sat side by side, their feet dangling over the water, hands entwined. The soft sound of waves and the cries of seabirds filled the air, creating a peaceful melody that seemed to belong only to them. Liam looked at Mia and spoke gently. "I want to promise something. No matter what comes next, I'll be here for you. For us. Just like we've been here for this pier." Mia leaned closer, resting her head lightly on his shoulder. "And I promise the same," she whispered. "We'll face everything together, just like we built this place together." The afternoon passed slowly, filled with small moments of laughter, quiet conversation, and shared glances. Every repaired board, every tool laid down, every story shared with the volunteers had led them to this moment. The pier was not just a structure of wood anymore, it was a living memory of effort, care, and the unexpected beauty of human connection. As the sun began to set, painting the sky in brilliant shades of orange and pink, Liam and Mia stood at the very end of the pier, hand in hand. The golden light reflected on the calm water, and the gentle breeze carried the scent of salt and seaweed. They looked at each other and smiled, feeling the quiet joy of accomplishment and the warmth of a love that had grown slowly, naturally, and unavoidably. "This pier will stand for a long time," Liam said softly, "but I hope, we'll stand together even longer." Mia squeezed his hand, her eyes shining. "Yes," she said. "Stronger together, like this pier. And full of life, love, and hope." The waves lapped gently against the supports, the seabirds circled above, and the town behind them celebrated the pier's restoration. But for Liam and Mia, the most important thing was the quiet moment at the end of the pier, the place where history, effort, and love had come together. The abandoned pier had been transformed, not just by tools and labor, but by hearts willing to care, to hope, and to love. And Liam and Mia knew that just as they had saved the pier, they had also found something even more enduring: each other. Hand in hand, they turned toward the town, stepping slowly along the boards they had helped repair. The sun dipped below the horizon, and the pier, strong and beautiful, held their footsteps, their laughter, and the promise of a future full of love and hope.